So before starting, I am once again requesting you, please complete the assignments. And if anybody wants to submit, and if anybody crosses the time before locking or after locking, you are being stopped because of this particular locking of the Edmodo, request me so that I'll give the access for you. Okay, and also submit the quiz again. If at all, if it is to be done by the evening. If anybody wants to submit, I can give you access till the evening. Until and otherwise, I'll report it to your class teacher and also to the HOD sir. Okay. So repeating number of times for joining the Edmodo and repeating the number of times for performing the activities in the Edmodo, it's not a good thing from the faculty side. You have to ask yourself for performing the activities. It's for your sake. It's for your grading. Why? Because physically conducting the exams, physically doing the everything is not possible for this instance. So you have to ask yourself to expose yourself for your grading procedure and your ranking procedure. Right. So coming to the yesterday's class, we've been discussed about the limitations of the mobile computing, discussed about the advantages, various advantages and variants of advantages are there for us. And coming to the limitations of mobile computing, we are having the first advantage, that is the resource constraint, that is the lacking of the battery power. So that particular one is the main thing which we are been still facing, even though you are been having the backing up of the battery powers and you are been using the battery backups on all those things. So that with the mobile device and with the mobile computing device, you are unable to provide the maximum battery life. And next one is the interference. As the radio signals are being traveling over the air, as it is not going to be guided by any physical media or a physical guidance, automatically there will be an interference into the signal, which is going to leading to the loss of the signal strength and the data. And obviously, when compared to the physical transmission media or the point-to-point connection media or the transmission, the wireless transmission, every time it is going to have the less bandwidth. You can compare it to the physical transmission or transmission rates. But because as it has been done in the air, it may be prone to the many number of disturbances and interference, because of which we have been having the less bandwidth rate, even though we have been trying for the higher bandwidth rates. Right. Next one is dynamic changes in communication environment. Obviously, the signal is going to be traveling over various geographical areas and various altitudes. That is, different heights it is going to be reaching and different areas it is going to be placing over. Because of landing over different heights and different places, it is going to be losing its energy. And sometimes you are being losing the connectivity also, right? And there will be some network issues whenever reaching the far distant areas. And at the same time, whenever any system operates, obviously it will be having some wear and tear positions and wear and tear problems. And there is nothing but the interoperability issues regarding the problem in the software, problem in the hardware, problem in the radiation, problem in the components, everything will be there. There is nothing but the interoperability issues. And next one is finally the security constraints. That is, as the data is going to be traveling, as the signals are going to be traveling in the air, obviously, not only with the connected devices or the connected transmission, where we are going to expecting the eavesdropping or counterfeiting of the data. Here also within the air, there is a possibility of the same eavesdropping of data or tapping of your information from the signals itself, where there is a no wire. Okay, that particular security concerns are also to be taken care, and they has to be given an eye while going through this particular wireless transmission. Right. These are all the limitations that we will be facing in wireless transmission. And coming to the simplified reference model, if you are being connected with the, if you are being having a communication between a wired device and the wireless device, they could be those systems that will be calling as the end systems. Those end systems should possess all the layers of communication. And whereas the network with which these two devices are going to be communicating shouldn't possess all the, shouldn't require all the communication layers. Only it is been working with the 3 down layers, that is the physical data link and the network layers. As the network has been propagated and the network has been operating through, and the data link is for providing the connectivity between the 2 devices, and the physical layer, whereas to transfer the data, to exchange the signals in between the 2 end systems. Right, tab is here, which is wireless one, requiring all the 5 communication layers, and the other device or the server device or a communicating device or a modem is there on the side, which is a wired device connected with some media here, right? So whereas this tab is been a wireless device which is communicating with the radio signals, which is connected through these two devices are going to be connecting through the corresponding network connecting device or the network providing device. An antenna will be there which is receiving the signals from the tab, and the signals will be sent to the network, and from the network it has been sent to the corresponding device, wire device through which we are being communicating. So all these layers are going to be helping us through the network device using the network data link and physical layers enough. We are going to have the communication. This is a simplified reference model having including a wireless device and a wired device with a connecting network device. So end systems are going to be fully working with the full protocol stack of all the layers, both the application, all the application, transport, network, data link, and the physical layers. Whereas applications on the end systems are going to be working with only the three layers, that is with the network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. So intermediate systems doesn't require all the layers, only the three layers are being required for us. Whereas physical layer is being for mainly identifying the frequency selection, generation of the carrier frequency, updating the modulation of that particular carrier frequency according to the modulating signal, and encrypting that particular signal from its side. So all these functionalities will be performed by the physical layer. And coming to the data link layer, it has been used for accessing the media and multiplexing the different streams from one side to the other side, and identifying the transmission errors, and providing the synchronization of the data or synchronization of the connections if it is a synchronization communication medium, right? So that it will, data link layer is being responsible for accessing the media that is being used for transmission of the data, multiplexing of different channels between the two communication points or two or more communication points. There we need the multiplexing, and the transmission errors, correction of transmission of errors if any required, and synchronization of the data or the synchronization of the connectivity. And coming to the network layer, already we know that how this particular network layer will be helpful for us. It is to identify the addressing and routing of the corresponding destination devices, identifying the device location, and main thing is handing over the signals between the different networks. As it is a wireless transmission and you are going to communicating between two different networks, say the two devices are belonging to the two networks, then the signal will be transmitting from the device that has been transmitting to the antenna that has been receiving the signal belonging to the same network. And from there onwards, it has to travel through the air and has to be received by the other antenna of the receiver side mobile device. And that particular receiver side mobile device has to be, will be working in the some other network, so that there the signal will be just handing over to the corresponding network. The network of the sender side is different, the network of the receiver side is different, so that the signal will be transmitted in the air until taking the source signal network and source network signal, and it is been handing over to the receiver receiver network signal, network antenna. So that is nothing but conveying the signal from one network to the, relaying the signal from one network to the another network is called as the handing over or handover. Just how you are going to be handing over from one hand to the hand, how you are been relaying one object to the other hands, that is nothing but the handing over, right? And coming to the transport layer, simply it is been providing the end-to-end connection between the two communicating devices for transmitting the data between two points, right? And coming to the application layer, it has been working or situated on the top of the devices. Everything will be done and everything will be identified by this particular application layer. Service location will be identified, supporting the multimedia content, adapting the applications and the variations in different transmission characteristics, wireless access to the World Wide Web, that is connecting to the network, connecting the internet, supporting the different multimedia content, identifying the service location around it using the middleware. All these things will be get worked out and executed by the application layer. And coming to the today's topic, that is the GSM, Global System for Mobile Communication. This is the popular communication system that has been introduced for the mobile communicating devices or mobile computing devices, as where the devices are all being handheld devices, or mobile, all the devices are being mobile. They are being mobilizing. They are not being static. They are being moving. So how this particular GSM has been became popular? What are all the different services it is being provided by, so that it became that much popular, and so many number of users are being there around the world as it is become popular. So how it has been became popular? What is its infrastructure? What is in it's been architecture? What are all the different protocol stack that is being used by the GSM? What are all the different services provided by the GSM, so that number of people are being accessing that particular GSM network or the GSM communication system. So it's a digital mobile telecommunication system used by over 800 million people in more than 190 countries. See, please note down the diagrams. See, all of you, I am alerting you again. All of you note down the diagrams, and if any conventions are there, if any pronunciations, or if any full forms are there, and if any abbreviated forms are there, I'll give you the full forms and give you the abbreviated forms. Please note down them. So whenever you have to answer the quizzes, whenever you have to answer the corresponding assignments, it will be helpful for us. And for your end exams also, it will be feasible to refer easily through that particular notes. Okay, so simply not viewing or hearing the particular presentation, please note down some important notes. So it will be helpful for you. Okay, so completely 800 million people are being using this particular GSM mobile communication around 190 countries around the world. Okay, and it's been the integrated services for both the voice and the data. It's been an integrated service for both voice and data using the internet working with the existing networks. That is, using the existing network methodologies itself. The GSM has been providing us both the integration of voice and data services, so that 190 countries around the world are being using it. Totally 800 million people in the world are on the globe is going to be using by it. So the corresponding services, what are all the services that are being provided by this GSM? GSM is going to provide in three main category of services. Okay, so what is this global system for mobile communication? What services it is being providing for this mobile communication, mobile telecommunication are nothing but the three types of services: bearer services, tele services, and supplementary services. Bearer services, tele services, and supplementary services. So coming to this bearer services, where one side of the system will have the bearer services, and one side of the system will have the tele services, and supplementary services are nothing but the aiding services for these both. Okay, so bearer services are the one side of the mobile communication, and tele services are for one side of the mobile communication, whereas the supplementary services are helping the complete communication system. So on the either side of the mobile communication point, there we are having the terminal equipment. That is nothing but the mobile that you are going to use, or antenna that you are going to use, and whatever it is. T is nothing but the terminal point, terminal equipment through which you are being communicating. T is nothing but the terminal equipment, and MT is the mobile terminal through which you are being connecting with, a mobile accessing, or the main terminal where you are being connecting with the network. Okay, so receiver, sender, and the master signal here, MS is nothing but the master signal through which you are been sending the data to the network, or the main terminal through which you are been sending the data to the network. And from the network again, the other side of the terminal equipment is going to be reaching the or receiving the signal, right? So that terminal equipment on either side of the communication points, and a main terminal here where you are going to be receiving or sending the signal, master signal through which. And here are the bearer services. What are all these bearer services? The network transmission, source or destination network, GSM, PLN, PSTN, and ISTN. So I'm giving you the full form of this particular things, that is PLMN, PSTN, and ISDN. PLMN is the Public Land Mobile Network. PLMN is the Public Land Mobile Network. GSM oriented Public Land Mobile Network. Right. So through that particular public LAN mobile network, we can also send our mobile signals or the mobile communicating signals through the public LAN mobile network, and it is going to be transmitting over or transmitting through the network, transmitting to the network. So how this particular network will be working, either with the ISDN or with the PSTN, in International Service Digital Network, or International Service Digital Network, or Public Switching Telephone Network. PSTN is the public switching telephone network using either PSTN or ISDN or integration of both these two. You are going to be connecting to the network. You are transmitting the signal through this particular network, and it has been reaching the source or the destination network through this particular PSTN or the ISDN, and at the end it is going to be received by the terminal equipment again. Right. Synchronous or synchronous or asynchronous receiver will be there, or synchronous or asynchronous transmitter will be there, or unbearable or bearable services will be there. Right. Bearer services are going to be doing what the bearer is going to be doing for you, whenever you are into the restaurant. All those services will be provided by this particular bearer services while transmitting our mobile signal from one terminal equipment to the another terminal equipment. Right. I think you have been noted the things. T is a terminal equipment, MT is the main terminal, MS is the master signal. Right. PLMN is the public LAN mobile network. PSTN is the public switching telephone network. ISDN is the international service digital network. Right. These are all the bearer services. And coming to the thing in detail. Right. So what are these different mechanisms that are being provided by this bearer services? It is going to providing different mechanisms of data transmission, allowing the data rate up to 9600 bits per second. Okay, for non-voice services also. Okay, so it is going to providing the non-voice services. That is nothing but the data services are being allowed up to 9600 bits per second. And these bearer services are also providing another set of services internally for us. These bearer services are also providing another set of services along with this that particular data rates and the voice rates. We are being provided with other category, other four services. Those are nothing but the transparent and non-transparent services, synchronous and asynchronous data transmission services. Transparent and non-transparent services, synchronous and asynchronous data transmission services. What are these transparent bearer services? So this particular transparent bearer services are being useful at the physical layer whenever we are going to interfacing with the particular data transferring. So that at the particular physical layer, using the physical layer protocols, the transfer of the data has to be done by the physical layers itself. So that there you are going to converting the data into bits into the signals and signals into the bit. So that the particular physical layer is going to using the physical layer protocols for transferring our data. And while transferring and receiving the data after multiplexing or demultiplexing the data between multiple communication points, we are going to be inserting a particular FEC, that is called as forward error correction, using a wired or wireless medium. Either you are using the wireless medium or wired medium for transmission of your signal at the physical level layer using the physical layer protocols. You are going to inserting a particular thing called as forward error correction. Forward error correction. What is this for forward error correction? That is nothing but whenever there is a error in our data, it is going to be identified as a particular FEC. It's going to be identified by the FEC. I think already you are aware of this particular FEC in your computer networks, right? So transfer of data using this FEC at the physical layer level, using this particular physical layer protocols, is nothing but the transparent bearer service. That is the transparent service using or making that particular source and destination, making transparent using this particular FEC regarding the transmission errors. So what is this FEC is nothing but it is going to be connecting with what is called as a GSM bearer service, providing the FEC. It is also providing you the bringing out the redundant bits, whatever may be the duplicate data that is being present in your data transmitter, it is going to be bringing out. FEC is going to be bringing out the corresponding duplicate data or the redundant bits provided in your data. So that by identifying that particular things, this redundant data allows the receiver to detect and correct errors. Whatever may be the redundant data that you are going to inserting using this FEC in your data transmitting. Whatever the data that you are going to transmitting will be induced with this FEC bits. FEC bits are nothing but the redundant bits that you are going to inserting into your data transmitting. Because of this FEC bits inserted in your data frame on the receiver side, by receiving or by dumping or demodulating or demultiplexing the data, whenever there is a duplicated data is being affected, then you can identify that there is an error in this particular data transmitted. So by using that particular FEC itself, we can identify or detect the errors, and we can what is called as rectify that particular errors. And coming to this non-transparent bearer services, what this non-transparent? Bearer services are again helping us, but how we could be non-transparent? In the transparent case, you are using the FEC to insert into the data, making the duplicate bits, and helping the receiver to identify whether there are any errors in the data, and identifying and correcting those errors. What happens here in this particular non-transparent bearer services? Use the protocol layers of 2 and 3, that is second and third layer protocols will be used for error correction and flow control. Here in the non-transparent bearer services, you are going to use the second and third layers for correction and flow control. What they are going to using, that is nothing but transparent, using the bearer services, adding a radio link protocol, RLP, radio link protocol, which is going to including the HDLC, high level data link control, and proceeding or providing and following the special selective and reject mechanisms to trigger retransmission of erroneous data. That is, while using the FEC in the transparent bearer services, you are directly giving the duplicate bits and identified by the particular receiver. That is, there is some error in the corresponding receiver data, and rectifying itself and requesting for the retransmission of the data. Here, within the non-transparent bearer services, we are not providing any duplicate data while sending the data itself. But by using the transparent services layers, by using the transparent services, using the second and third layer, we are including another protocol called as radio link protocol while sending the data, which includes the HDLC within it. Mechanism of the HDLC will make you some selective rejective mechanisms, will provide with you the selective reject mechanisms to trigger retransmission of the erroneous data. So using this particular HDLC, along with the radio link protocol, the receiver will be able to identify if there is an error in data. So without using the FEC, we are doing it in a non-transparent manner. By having this particular HDLC, the receiver can identify if any error is there in the data. Then after identification of the error in the data that is being received, he is going to be requesting the retransmission of the data by using the selective reject mechanism with the HDLC procedure. Selective reject mechanisms, he is going to be requesting the retransmission of the erroneous data in return to the sender. This is about the transparent and non-transparent bearer services. Right, coming to the synchronous and asynchronous data transmissions. Already you know about synchronous means transmitting the data at a fixed time interval, at a fixed rate with respect to the time interval. And asynchronous is nothing but without considering the time interval or without considering any specific data rate, you are providing the data transmission. Okay, data is transmitted from transceiver at a fixed rate with constant phase differences between two devices. That is, maintaining a clock rate, maintaining a time reference, you are transferring the data based on that particular time rate or the clock rate from the transmitter to the receiver in the synchronous transmission. Whereas in the asynchronous transmission, you are not going to providing any specific clock rate or any specific time interval. A bandwidth will be set first. Okay, according to that particular bandwidth itself, how many data has to be, how many data packets or the data frames has to be sent from source to the destination, it will be sent over. So without considering any time, whether we are being sent the data frame at a particular interval or it has to be reached the receiver at a particular interval, it will not be considered. But according to the bandwidth, whatever the data frames that we've been sent from the source, whether that particular bandwidth has been reached or received by the receiver or not, it will be identified in the asynchronous transmission. There is a difference between the synchronous and asynchronous transmission. So both these transparent bearer services, non-transparent bearer services, transparent bearer services are providing with the forward error correction procedure to identify by the receiver whether there is any error in the data that is being received and rectifying that particular errors. And coming to the non-transparent, where you are using the radio link protocol, having the HDLC facility to identify by the receiver if there is any error in the data that is being received, and requesting the retransmission of the erroneous data by using the HTLC selective reject mechanism. And coming to the synchronous and asynchronous transmission, taking the clock rate as a reference, synchronous transmission will transmit the data from transceiver to the transceiver. Transceiver is nothing but the combination of both transmitter and the receiver. I think already you know about this. And coming to the asynchronous transmission, there will not be any clock reference or the time reference. The bandwidth will be set, and within that particular bandwidth itself, number of frames or signals will be sent from transmitter to the receiver. On the receiver side, we'll be checking that whether the same bandwidth or the same set of frames of packets of data has been received as it is sent by the source. Right. Right. Coming to the teleservices. So what are these teleservices? And here the rates has been given here. That is, what are all the different rates provided by the synchronous and asynchronous as it is following the corresponding clock rate. Here, the several bearer services for internet working with PSD and ISDN already know. That is, PSPDN will be followed. Like X.225 will be used by the GSM in the worldwide. And data transmission will be in full duplex, synchronous with data rates. Okay, different data rates will be followed. With synchronous data rates, we'll having the asynchronous data rates, but the data transmission will be in the full duplex way. Already everybody know about the types of transmissions, half duplex, full duplex, and whatever it is, you know about all these transmissions. So according to that particular transmission, taking the standard of X.25, you are having the synchronous rates of 1.2, 2.5, 2.4, 4.5, and 9.6 kilobits per second. And coming to the asynchronous full duplex, it is having 300 to 900 and 9600 bits per second. So please note down these rates. They will be helpful for you. GSM is going to providing the synchronous and asynchronous transmission rates using the X.25 service in a full duplex mode with synchronous data rates of 1.2, 2.4, or 4.5, or 9.6 kilobits per second. And coming to the asynchronous full duplex mode, it is from 300 to 9600 bits per second, not kilobits, right? So there is a difference between the synchronous and asynchronous transmission. And coming to the teleservices. So what is this teleservices are being provided? These are being mainly focusing on the voice-oriented teleservices. Here, these services are going to be encrypting our data while transmitting. While you are being communicating over the communicating devices, that is a voice-oriented services, these voice-oriented services are being encrypted using this particular teleservices with the terminal sent to received by PSTN or ISDN. ISDN is mainly used for fax, and PSTN is for already you know about that public switching telephone network, which will be used for telecommunication or mobile communication or that phone communication. So using the terminals PSTN or ISDN, you are being encrypting our voice services, and GSM is mainly focusing on encrypting the data for securing our data. Okay, and it has been mainly focusing on the provision of high quality digital voice transmission, and coders and decoders will be used for transmission for encrypting our data. Okay, either with the traditional modems or with the fax machines or with the mobile devices or with the cellular devices or whatever it is, whether it is cell communication, mobile communication, or modem communication, or whatever it is, a fax communication. It's mainly focusing on the encryption of the data using the coding and decoders, right? That is, high quality digital transmission has been possible with this teleservices itself. And another main services and the special services that are being provided by this GSM. Special services that are being provided by this GSM is the emergency number. Emergency number like 911 and 999, which will be free of charge. Already you know about this service numbers or the toll-free numbers as we see. This particular GSM is going to be providing, that is the first one which has been introduced on this emergency numbers, which is of toll-free numbers, that is the free of charge numbers, is nothing but the 911 like 999. This is the emergency service. And next one is SMS. Using, with the invention of the GSM itself, we have the SMS and the EMS and then the FMS and all those things. SMS has been introduced with the a short message service has been introduced with the 160 characters, and then we are being with enhanced message service with the larger text messages and formatted text and the transmission of animated pictures. See, if at all, if you see the older versions of the mobiles, they're used to have the SMS and the EMS. SMS is going to have only the 160 characters confinement, Whereas EMS is having certain larger messages, having the GIFs, having the messages that, what is called as images that can be sent over using this particular EMS. Okay, enhanced message service for a larger message size, formatted text and transmission of animated pictures. Okay, and ringtones can also be sent over. I think you people are not able to identify these things whenever there may be a large, older versions of mobiles like 1600 Nokia and 9600 Nokia versions. They used to have this particular SMS and the EMS services where you are going to send the ringtones to the friends and sending the animated pictures along with using the EMS, where SMS is only for the text messages, right? So using the tele services of the corresponding GSM itself, we have been introduced with this emergency number, like which are been toll free to contact with the corresponding service centers to identify any problems or to rectify the problems regarding with your mobile communication. And SMS and EMS are been introduced. Thereafter, the MMS has been came into existence, where you can find send a larger pictures when compared to the EMS. Short video clips can also be sent with this particular mobile phones with integrated small cameras, not the complete smartphone cameras, only the integrated small cameras. That is nothing but SX cameras or FX cameras will be there. Using that particular cameras, you are used to take a photo or recorded a video clip, and that particular short video clip and particular photo or JAF or JPG images can be sent over using this MMS, right? So using this tele services, all these features has been introduced by the GSM. And coming to the supplementary services, what are the supplementary services that are provided by the GSM? So we are having the corresponding bearer services. Among the bearer services, we are having different category, that is non-bearer, what is called as transparent bearer services and non-transparent bearer services. There next to the tele services, within the particular bearer or non-bearer, we are having also synchronous and asynchronous transmission. Tele services are being provided with certain features. In addition to that particular bearer services, not only the voice communication, you can also send the text and also the some multimedia images and the video clips and whatever it is. And coming to the supplementary services, what these supplementary services are doing for us, how they are being helpful for us. In addition to the standard telephony service, that is not only the voice communication and all those things. The typical services that come under the supplementary services, which are helping both the bearer and also the tele services, are using the identification, that is call identification or the user identification, call redirection, forwarding of the calls, bearing of incoming and outgoing calls, advice of charge, that is billing of your calls, standard ISDN features such as closer user groups, that is common calls, that is conference calls and whatever it is, and multi-party communication may be available. These are all called as the supplementary services of the GSM. Already you know about all these things, that is user identification using the Truecaller and all this, what you are doing here now, and call redirection, forwarding of the ongoing calls and incoming and outgoing calls, advice of charge, that is how much of uses that you have been done with the talk time, that have been done with the mobile data, that is been alerting you each and every time, or charging you or giving you the billing section. And standard ISDN features such as closer user groups, CUG, closer user groups, and multi-party communication. That is nothing but calling in group. How you are going to calling in group, having the group calls, having the conference calls, having the conference meetings and all those things, that can be the standard of ISDN. So that can also be included by this particular GSM as a supplementary service among its services, right? So these are the supplementary services which are helping the bearer services and also the tele services. And there comes the GSM architecture. So for providing all these services, that is both the bearers, all the three services, bearer services, tele services, and also the corresponding supplementary services, how the architecture of the GSM constitutes, It is having three subsystems. Namely radio subsystems, network and switching subsystems, operating subsystems. Radio subsystem, RSS, network and switching subsystem, NSS, operation subsystem, OSS. These three subsystems are the main components of GSM architecture. These three subsystems are the main components of the GSM architecture. We will see in detail what are these three systems, how they will be internally working together and accessing and helping the users for communication, and helping the networks to get connected with, helping the signals to identify all these things, right? We'll see the each and every component in detail, RSS, NSS, and the OSS. So coming to the system that we see here. First, we'll see the total picture of this particular GSM network. So it is having the RSS, NSS, and OSS. RSS, NSS, and OSS. So RSS is having certain picture here. It is consisting of some radio cells, MS, BTS, BSS, and all those things. What is this BSS? What is this MS? What is this BTS? And all those things we'll see. And it is also having the BSC as a border of it. And using this particular BSC, NSS is going to be communicating with the RSS subsystem. NS is going to be communicating with the BSC with the RSS subsystem. The NS is nothing but the network subsystem, RSS is the radio subsystem, OS is the operating system subsystem. So the OSS and NSS are going to be combinedly working here. NSS and OSS is going to be combinedly working here, but the what is called as the working line in between this corresponding NSS and OSS is being given. See, various versions are there. So please note down this diagram so you can identify what is the MSC, what is the VLR, what is the BSC, what is the HLR, what is the EAR, AUC, OMC, MS, BTS, radio cell, BSS, and all those things, ISDN, PSDN, PDN, and all those things. What are all these things? So that they are all helpful for us. GSM has been combinedly working with this all these three subsystems so as to help us for communicating easily and very perfectly, right? So NSS is here, RSS is here, and OSS is here. Operating subsystem and network subsystem and radio subsystem, right? So I think you people are been noting the diagram. Please note it so that I can explain you in the next class. So are people noting the diagram? Respond.
Yes, ma'am.
So please note it. Why? Because this is the main thing. This is the main essay question that you will be asked with explaining the services and subsystems of the GSM. Of course, the mobile communication part is very important. It will be asked with the modulation techniques and the multiplexing techniques. You have to answer it as an essay separately, whatever you are being discussing in the assignment. And here coming to this GSM, mainly this particular, other than the services it is going to be providing, it may be also asked as a subpart of the question. Here the subsystems, that is the architecture of the GSM, is a very important question. You will be asked with, surely it will be having a question from the architecture. You have to learn about. Please note the diagram first so that I can explain you the subsystems individually. Are you able to see the picture clearly? Are you able to see the picture clearly? Are you able to draw or note it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Completed, I have to give the time. Shall I change the slide? Are you drawing still? Okay, go through the services of the GSM, whatever the services that it's been providing by it, and also the architecture that we've been discussing in detail. Right. So I'm moving the slide now. What we discussed today. So introduction of the GSM, how it has been helpful, how vastly it will be used around the globe, right? And the categories of the services individually, what are all the bearer services, what are all the transparent bearer services, non-transparent bearer services, synchronous and asynchronous bearer services, what is the forward error correction in the bearer service, and tele services, how it has been helpful for us other than the voice communication over the mobile computing environment, and the supplementary services which are aiding both the bearer and the tele services. And finally comes the GSM architecture, where we can discuss this particular architecture in the next class. So if there is any doubt regarding the previous classes, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can leave the session. Time is over. Have you completed drawing the picture? GSM architecture. Anybody respond? Yes, 65. 65, raise the hand.
I'm unexpectedly done, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Completed the diagram? Shall I close here? So,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so in Edmodo, I'm going to be unlocking the assignment and quiz, both of them today, but it is going to be ending by midnight of today. So anybody has been remained unsubmitted, both the quiz and the assignment, they can do by today's night. Okay, so that is the last chance for you to do that. Otherwise, I'll track all those numbers who have been missed and who have been not submitted the assignment and the quiz, and I will report it to your class teacher and also to the HOD sir. Please do it immediately and ask your other friends also do submit who have been remind. Okay, so complete the assignment and the quiz who has not been submitted, and please check that particular Edmodo group for the resubmissions if any. I think everybody has been submitted the assignments both along with your identification, like your number, name, class, and subject and assignment number 1, right? And make it a PDF and submit it. And ask your other friends who have been submitted. Please do it by that today night. Okay? Okay. I'm leaving now. It's been over. I'm ending the session.